Oh, hi. Hello there. Welcome to D&D Stories once again.
XP to level 3. You are a bold one.
Shut up. This is going to be the final one for this year. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of great stories this year, or maybe we did and they're just all great stories and we're just trying to think of some that are really outstanding. Or maybe we just suck and this year just was really bad.
This year was really bad.
This year was really bad, so...
Yeah. Might be it. I'm here with Tyler and Spencer and Colton and Jacob, and we're here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Wait, which one's Jacob?
I think it's that one person that showed up for like 2 seconds on the Joke Cat How to Be a DM
Gotcha.
video.
Gotcha.
I didn't expect that good of a joke from you. But no, we're here to revel in some ridiculousness that happened. I think this is probably the one thing that happened this year that was absolutely insane that I couldn't predict, and I will remember it forever as a dungeon master. Wild magic sorcerers are just the cream of the crop. So, but before we get into that story to talk about that stuff, we do indeed have a sponsor for this video. Hey guys, have you ever wanted? Do you ever have you?
Have you ever had a dream that you could?
You ever write in your entire D&D campaign and your Google Docs are just not able to handle all of that lore information and maps, and you just need somewhere to organize it a lot better?
No. But if I did, where could I go?
You could go to World Anvil!
Whoa!
With World Anvil, you can make maps, and you can take your maps, you can put little pins on them, and the pins can lead to links to other maps. You can give all this information to your players, including articles that have tons of different themes, different ways to write up stat blocks and character sheets, and even you can roll dice on World Anvil now. There's a lot of really great features they're constantly putting in every single month. The team over there at World Anvil, they do some great work. They are awesome people, so go check it out. You can sign up today with my code XP to level 3 for 20% off your subscription. And if you use that code, a little bit of it goes to me. If you don't want to use that code, I don't know, go use Logan's or something. I don't care. Just go support World Anvil, you dummy. All right. So this story takes place in my game again, Evenfall. We played over on Arcade, and we had talked previously about how the party had gone into some mines. And, you know, a mine. And
Every time.
funny too, because my office has a lot of reverb, and that's what it sounds like in the movie. He goes, "Oh my!" Anyways, we were playing that game. The party went into a mine, and just in case you need a refresher, Tyler's playing Lilia, the Azamar Warlock. Spencer is playing Philip, the Oath of the Crown Paladin and Storm Herald Barbarian, and Colton is playing Core, Blade Singer Wizard.
I like how only Tyler is important enough to get his race mentioned.
Yeah. I play Drow. What do you got against Drow, huh?
Yeah, it's because you're playing Drow, so it doesn't need to be mentioned. Once again, it seems that kobolds get a rough time here on XP to level 3 because our previous story about Issa blowing up all those kobolds almost coincides with this story, which also had to do with kobolds. So I was preparing a little dungeon for the party inside of this rock, and they were going to go deep into this underground mine to find out what was going on down there. Apparently, I forget why. I think people were disappearing.
Last video, we talked about the Zorn a little bit, and there was this monster that was causing people to disappear, and no one knew why. And so we were going to go into the cave to investigate, and that's where the kobolds were.
Yes, and it turns out the Zorn, they were looking for treasure for Tetheros, who was looking for gate keys, and anytime people in a nearby village would like sleep on the ground or sleep near the floor and they had like money or treasure on them, they would disappear into the ground overnight because the Zorn was eating them and taking their treasure. So the party was going to go down and deal with that stuff, but before they went down into there, the first level of this dungeon was like these kobold caverns, and I wanted that to be there because I've never got to really properly run kobolds, which is like, you know, traps and nonsense and all of that stuff. And I was really excited because I wanted to make these really devastatingly awful kobolds for my party, and I really just wanted to be evil. That's all it was. So I prepped for like, I think almost like 2 weeks. I actually went over and watched Logan's Kobold video, which is really, really good. I really suggest you go watch that video. It's really awesome. After this video, of course. And he sets up this really great dungeon filled with traps that are like Kobold themed. I didn't copy him, but I took a lot of inspiration from his video. And I went into like, to my table and I set up this giant map and I drew out the whole thing. And then I took a picture of it and I took it into Photoshop and then I took it into Procreate and I drew it out and then I put it back in Photoshop and gave it all these layers and all this stuff. And I was really excited. There was going to be like a lava trap. There was going to be this this bridge that was really rickety, but the kobolds would catapult their way across. They would have this pool of oil that they could walk through. But if anybody went into it, they could fire a crossbow bolt with fire into it and it would set on fire. They also had hanging bags from the ceilings that they would use to snatch people into. They had a ravine that they would throw rocks down onto people, and a lot of bear traps all over the place, things for people who are too tall. If you were short, you could get through this dungeon, but if you were tall, you were going to die. We get into the game, and I'm really excited because the party is just going to hate my guts, and it's just that little electric feeling you get as a DM, just like, oh, are you guys having fun?
Not for long.
I remember there being a decent amount of water that you would have to walk through, but there are also beams along the ceiling.
Yeah, the kobolds would just walk across the beams because it was small enough for them.
And I was like, well, the water's not too deep. I'll just walk through it. There were probably like 15 bear traps in that water. I didn't set all of them off, but I'm just going to assume there were, anywhere you stepped, there was a bear trap.
It was like playing Home Alone, but as a dungeon master. It was so satisfying. I highly recommend it. Oh, and let me be fair. I have an entire video talking about why the Tomb of Horrors is a piece of garbage. This Kobold dungeon was actually doable. Yeah. It wasn't like it made no sense. There was no rhyme or reason. If they would think about the fact that there were kobolds or like where they could go, there was a way that they could get around each and every trap. It wasn't that mean.
There wasn't, you stay in a room for 5 minutes and you get run over by a steamroller.
By a boulder and die? Yeah, no.
Rocks fall from the ceiling, you die.
And it's really funny too because Philip has we have this whole mechanic where he can't control his rages. Mm-hmm. This was all Spencer's idea, and I think it's wonderful. Where every time Philip takes damage, he's got to make a wisdom saving throw. If he succeeds it, the DC goes up by 1. And if he fails it, he goes into a blind rage, which is just his barbarian rage, but he can't tell friend from foe. So every time Philip was taking a bear trap, the party was like, is he going to Hulk out? Nope. Okay, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think it got pretty high up. It got to 16. It starts at 10. Just from bear traps.
And then we went through the ravine, the ravine, and that's when the kobolds noticed us and just started being little shits.
So yeah, it's a good time. It's all going well. And then Colton, you showed up, and it's like that scene from Community when Donald Glover walks into the room and he has all the pizza, and then the entire room is on fire, and he's like, ah!
Man, that's a pretty literal explanation for what went down. So I finally showed up, and they caught me up, and apparently we had made like a little kobold friend, and we were going into the next room, and in the next room there were enemies, and Kurt, at some point, I don't remember how early in the fight it was, our wild magic sorcerer cast a spell, and wild magic was imposed.
Normally wild magic is something pretty fun, like, oh, you can cast your spells as a bonus action, or your hair gets all weird and stuff.
Alternatively, hear me out. The entire dungeon could be enveloped in reverse gravity, which is exactly what happened.
So we should also say that we have a bit of homebrew with the wild magic as well. It happens more often.
I approved it. It was fine. I just never thought it would really happen because I didn't fully understand the scope of reverse gravity. This entire dungeon, we were like, oh, reverse gravity like a 10-foot sphere. Haha. No. Reverse gravity's like a 60-foot radius or something like that.
Something like that.
These kobolds are small. They're little. It's a small cave! The entire dungeon became reverse gravity! The entire dungeon is built on, like, gravity and, like, things going downwards. So the pool of oil would mix with the pool of lava. And their pulley system, which gets them from place to place, would be shattered and destroyed. And the bridge would be ripped out from where it was. And all of their traps would immediately spring. I'm not kidding when I say the entire dungeon basically caved in and exploded.
And then it became a test for us to jump around lava, basically, because all the lava was displaced. We had to like figure out where to go from there.
You guys like had to push rocks and get out of the way so the oil wouldn't explode.
Yeah. We had to run
Dozens
from
of
the
kobolds
explosion.
were just dying for. They were like, haha, we trapped them, and then everything was ruined in an instant.
It was insane. The
was
amount
ridiculous.
of destruction that one spill
There
caused.
was like acid and lava mixing together and like burning kobolds.
It would be wrong to not mention that until then, you know, Kurt's wild magic hadn't been all that destructive. Like,
Yes.
it was like little things, mostly.
Earlier in the same game, Kurt had casted Charm Person on a kobold, and then they immediately wild shaped into a goat.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
in the same
So
game.
that's what we're used to. That's what we're
didn't
used
know
to.
that.
Is that?
Was it also? I gave Jordan a little feat where the DC is below, I think, 5. No, it's still to 1. You still have to roll a 1, but it increases by 1 every time it doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
Kind of
so,
like Philip's rage.
so
So
it's
it can
like a
build
build
up and then
up,
eventually
yeah.
go off.
But look, it's more fun the wild magic happening once a campaign.
This reverse gravity thing was freaking
Yeah.
hilarious. Even though I lost all of my progress, I was more than happy to have this happen because it created a brand new situation that I didn't know how to deal with. And I was like, this is great. We wouldn't have this without Kurt. And I think that's what was so fun about it.
So for those of you who wonder how everything connects, we're wiped out from everything being reversed and still trying to fight through and torn and worn out. And then we go through the minecart.
The kobolds got in their little treasure hoard and they yeeted themselves out of the hole. They had that like trap thing that the goblins have in Tomb of Annihilation where they just spring load themselves off into the distance. So they just abandoned ship. You guys then went down a mine, and a boulder chased after you guys. And then you fought undead dwarves and then you fought the Zorn again.
That's right.
I just want to say with the boulder, it was another moment of Lelia staying behind.
For no reason!
Oh yeah. Lelia was just trying to 1v1 the boulder.
She held it off because people couldn't, and I couldn't run away from it. So might as well just try and hold it back.
And then you guys got in the mine cart, and then at the bottom of and then Lelia almost died, and everybody almost died, and then at the bottom of the mine cart, you guys have basically gotten rid of all your money, you were tired, you fought more undead dwarves, and eventually you guys finally got out of there. And it was all like one day. It was like it was like 3 or 4 games over the course of one day.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
3 games, but 1 day, and it was awful.
Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to check out World Anvil, and that is the end of D&D stories for this year. See you guys next year with more D&D stories, where maybe we'll have some more that we
I
do.
hope so. Otherwise, where are they coming from?
Otherwise, we're not playing D&D.
Otherwise, we just played the most boring games.
So,
The most
so
vanilla
hey guys,
games.
I don't know,
Milquetoast.
believe it or not, in my game of D&D, the barbarian raged.